Won't stop the beat and go.
So with a deadlift, there's two stages that we need to learn, okay? Before we talk about those two stages though, there's something really important that you need to think about before you even start to lift this bar. So when we talk about learning a deadlift, the bar is on the floor. As we know, we want to lift the bar off the floor. However, this is brand new for you. The worst thing you can do is start with that bar and lift it, okay? The point being, if I get Jordan to just grab this bar now, leave it on the floor, mate. So as he lines himself up now, right? If he starts to think, right, okay, I've got the bar, I've got my low weights on, and I'm gonna think, my back straight, I'm gonna lift this bar. The problem here though is, if you're a novice and you're learning how to lift, all my muscles in this position are lengthened, meaning I'm actually in a weak position. If I get Jordan to stand up holding the bar, he's in a shortened position with his muscles, which means now I'm in a stronger position. And if this is new for you and you really want to perfect the technique to be able to get stronger and stronger safely, you're best learning in a strong position where you feel comfortable. So when we start to learn and teach and coach a deadlift, we always start at the top and we work in reverse, okay? So I'm going to start teaching Jordan this first stage. As I said, there's two stages. The first stage of the deadlift is learning how to hinge effectively. Now, before we start this hinge, the thing I'm going to get Jordan to focus on is, I just get you to move slightly, mate. I'm going to get him to focus on the exact area where his hamstring meet his glute, or to put it simply, the bum crease. Yeah, so the bum crease is really an important area to focus on, because that is where we're going to get Jordan to think about pushing upwards, okay? So what I mean by that, right, is, get you to turn back around, mate. If we think less about lifting a bar and more pushing the floor away, that'll make the lift far more effective, meaning that I'll use more of the stronger muscles in my legs and dominate less in my back. Now the deadlift is a back strengthening exercise, but the back muscles should only be there to solidify that spine and let the legs do the rest of the work, okay? So what I'm going to get him to do in this instance to perfect the hinge, which if you just show everybody what the hinge is the first part of the movement where I'm sliding the bar down till they pass my knees, get to the end of range where my hamstrings are at the maximum flexibility or almost there, and then revert and come back up again, okay? That's the first part of the movement, and we're effectively calling it changing of the angle, right? So as I said, I want Jordan now to focus on pushing this bum crease up to the sky. Now as that bar lowers down and stays into my thighs, I'm going to push up, and I'm effectively changing this angle till I maximize my stretch at my hamstrings, and then in reverse I'm going to drive the hips down into the floor by driving through them glutes, okay? So let's go again. We're going to lift up, constantly changing the angle at my pelvis until I maximize the stretch, drive down into the floor, okay? Now if you've noticed, I've not actually asked Jordan to think about his spine here, okay? Now the reason being, if I get this tilting of my pelvis correct, often I don't really need to think about changing the angle at my spine or keeping it straight, because the movement is coming from my hips. And as I said earlier, if the drive comes from my glute muscles or my leg muscles, I'm less likely to feel like I need to lift at the back, okay? So we want to instigate the movement through the hips, and then obviously as you get stronger, that movement will be way more effective and ask a lot less from those spine muscles. So that is stage one of the exercise, and we'll get to stage two next.